Everyone, welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer for this episode, Logan Landers. Join me here today to answer the question of how will Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, and Daniel Jones, how will they do in their returns from injuries from years past? How can they get back on track? Here to help me out and answer that question today, my guy from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network, Jay McLovin. So, Jay, how you doing, my friend? How do you want to do this? Do you want to go all in one, or do you want me to go down the line and you can?
No, I think we just do a rapid spitfire.
All right, let's do it, brother. Let's just go with who do you want to talk about first? How about that? I'll let you.
Let's go with Deshaun. Let's just start with Deshaun and rip that Band-Aid off like a champ.
All right, let's do it. So, what can Deshaun Watson do to come back to his form like he was with the Texans? Obviously, it has not worked out with the Browns. He is not like the same guy. Of course, off the field issues we won't speak on, but also on the field he's been hurt. It's just been a bad couple of years, man, in Cleveland. Can he get back on track? How's he going to do this year?
Yeah, Deshaun just needs to stay out of the massage rooms and more in the physical therapy rooms. If he worked nearly as hard as physical therapy as he does his personal therapy, you'll probably see a different Deshaun Watson out there. Not to throw shade on him, but let's just be honest. That dude deserves shade. He just signed the biggest guaranteed contract in NFL sports history after boinking all of the massage women over in Houston, only to have them cover it up. How great does it get for an NFL quarterback other than that? Oh, yeah, he gets a second contract. I wonder what that will look like. Well, I guess it kind of goes back to where you're talking about here, Logan, because he's getting ready to get into the meat of that contract, and he will be having to look forward to buying that next big contract. So what's he going to do? He's going to have to go out there and do epic-like things. Number one, just stay healthy. That would be a good starting point. And then number two, he has to continue to develop his chemistry with his top wide receiver, Amari Cooper, and T. Higgins. Now, obviously. Oh no, not T. Higgins. Excuse me. That's I'm thinking the other one. I don't know who do they have after Amari Cooper. I know they is there even really a wide receiver over there?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this Browns roster, obviously you mentioned Amari Cooper is going to be their top guy. But they've got David Bell, who has some good shine on him last year.
David Bell.
They picked up Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, David freaking Bell.
They got Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, Jamari Thrash. I mean, they got some. It's a young core.
You got a young journeyman around a wide receiver one. I think they do have is it Njoku? Is that their wide?
They still got him out at tight end. Who he's a solid player. I like.
So really, it comes down to how well is Chubb's going to come back from injury, or will he even make it back at the start of the season?
That's a good point too. You don't know, but I think Deshaun improves on the last 2 years. I mean, he's only played in 12 games in 2 seasons. He's thrown for just over 1,000 yards each, which is definitely unlike him. But the thing too, Jay, is his interception to turnover ratio. 14 combined touchdowns in 2 seasons compared to 9 INTs, and he's been sacked 37 times. And like you said, that's a lot of guaranteed money. I think Deshaun Watson ultimately has a better season. I think that he eclipses both seasons with the Browns. I think he'll stay healthy, I hope, for their sake. So I think he has a bounce-back year overall, but I don't know how well it'll leave for Cleveland. That's for our team preview that you guys can go check out on our channel. But let's keep it moving, Jay. Let's keep going down the line. Yeah. What about the guy with the best hair in the league, a guy who looks like a GQ model, and Joe Burrow? How does that look this year?
Yeah. So for him, it just kind of comes down to how does that offensive line feel? Does the offensive line feel like they can protect long enough to let Joe go through his progressions to get the right receiver? Are they going to give him that much time, or is he going to be scrounging around with his chicken cut off, trying to stay alive behind the offensive line? I guess it depends on what the O-line gives. Not only Joe Burrow, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think David Montgomery is now his backup. Correct? No, David Montgomery's over there with Detroit.
Yeah.
No, who took Mixon's spot though?
That is a great question. That is going to be right now the running back room. It's Zach Moss and
Yeah,
Chris
that
Evans.
one. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, let's put it this way. I knew they had one decent running back, but after that, it was just garbage. So, what do I think for Cincinnati? I think out of this particular group, probably second best, maybe. Because I don't think Herbert's going to be 1 or 2. I think Herbert's going to be 3, and I'll give you reasons why here in a minute. But
all right,
I think Deshaun, if he stays healthy, could lead this group just because I think he has a little bit better players around him, especially really for him. It depends on how Nick Chubb is going to come back from injury.
Yeah.
So he really depends on Nick Chubb. Cincinnati really depends on the O-line.
Yeah. Hey, and listen to this, Jay. I'll give you a magic number for Joe Burrow. How about 148? That is the amount of times that man's been sacked in his career in the regular season.
Yeah.
148 times.
Yeah.
That guy, his O-line better be providing ice packs and bandages after games.
Yeah, I promise you. Dude should have a whole arm full of Rolexes.
Yeah.
And the other arm holding those $1 million cigars that he's smoking.
Hey, yeah, I'm about to say, you're not kidding. I think that, like you said, the success of Joe Burrow is the success of his O-line. If they can cause him to not get killed every snap, he'll do fine. I think that's simple enough. We've seen it when he's healthy. The guy is a perennial MVP candidate. I mean, he threw for 4,000 plus yards in back-to-back seasons with 34 and 35 touchdowns. I mean, helped lead his team to the Super Bowl as well. It don't get much better than that. So, O-line, do your job. I think Joe Burrow is probably going to be, like you said, 1 or 2 in terms of tops for this class here. All right, Jay. Do you want to touch on Justin Herbert, or you want to go ahead and get Daniel Jones out the way? Because I know you've got some strong opinions on it. You do.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, we can go ahead and talk
right.
New York Giants. This ain't going to take very long. I mean,
right.
Number one, it's Daniel Jones. Number two, he's already got a Q next to his name, and this is preseason. But then when you look at the actual team itself, who do they really have? They have Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, and he's got a Q next to his name because he got hurt last year. What was that? Wandell Robinson?
Yep, Wandell, yep.
And then you got some guy named Bellinger. Okay. Yeah, man. I'm not feeling any. Theo Johnson, Zaya McKenzie, Allen Robb. Okay, there's a name I recognize. You might have 2 sub 500 player teams.
Oh boy!
But really, after that, then it's just a bunch of horse manure. And then the only good thing I'm going to say about the defense is you got a guy named Thibodeau on it. I mean, anytime you have a last name Thibodeau, I guess that says something for yourself. That's really about it. I see a whole lot of hodgepodge of bullshit that Dable is going to have to wade through in order to get back to the gooder side of life again. So, yeah, I expect absolutely nothing from him nor his team.
When I see, poor Daniel Jones, man. God, you know what I think happened, Jay? The bright lights in New York done got to him. I think the bright lights got to him.
Is that when he was laying on his back?
I think whenever he got knocked down 30 times last season, he's been sacked. And Jay, I said the number for Joe Burrow. Daniel Jones has been sacked 179 times since he was drafted in 2019, for God's sake. I mean, just another guy who has had no help, I think. And also too, you forgot to mention this. Saquon Barkley ain't there no more.
No.
He's gone.
No.
So when I look at Daniel Jones, man, he played in 6 games last year. 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions before he went out for the rest of the year. I think he'll improve on that, but do I think he goes back to 3,000 plus yards? I know he's going to be definitely throwing the ball, slinging the ball a lot more. Do I expect
he might have that many yards and interceptions?
Do I expect big numbers from him, MVP type numbers that live up to that ginormous contract? Simply put, Jay, no, I do not. I do not expect Daniel Jones to come back and light the world on fire. That's just my 2 cents. Let's go out to sunny California, though, my brother. Let's talk Justin Herbert, obviously with a new captain in town, with a new coach. How does he look? Because this one's a little interesting. How does Justin Herbert bounce back?
Well, you see how Daniel Jones looks right now?
Yeah.
That's the way Herbert will look next season.
You think so?
I just look at it like this. He has absolutely nobody to throw the ball to. Like, I don't even know who half these people are on this team. I'm seeing a bunch of names. I couldn't tell you a damn. Some of them look kind of sort of familiar, but I mean, in all honesty, I just don't see anything on this team that I wake up and go, yeah, this team has everything it needs. No, there's not even a day I wake up and say that it has one thing that it needs, because it has absolutely zero things that it needs, in my opinion. It needs everything. It really needs everything. You might get a little production out of Singletary. I mean, he gave you a little bit down there in Houston, but I mean, I don't even think you're going to get that much out of him, because this O-line is terrible, and Houston had a good O-line. So, and everybody knows that Singletary is the guy, because Daniel Jones ain't going to have time to throw the ball. So, I look to see a lot of Singletary and maybe a bit of Bellinger, and that's on the desperation checkdowns that Daniel Jones is going to be doing to him.
No, so you're expecting similar things from Justin Herbert as you would Daniel Jones, just to clarify.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I know I'm throwing out Giants names, but
that's what is that kind of what you see? Is that you see a Giants?
I know a whole lot of. I clicked on it twice. That's actually really kind of comical.
Yeah. If you compare the Chargers to the Giants in terms of offensive talent, I understand where you're going with this. And I mean, look, when I look at this, is obviously a super young team. When I look at this team at the Chargers, I mean, like you said, they got Justin Herbert, who is a stud, great player, love the guy.
Right.
But they got Dobbins, they got J.K. Dobbins. He's a good player. But that wide receiver, man, ain't doing it. I'm not seeing some A-plus talent.
Quentin Johnston, I guess, Ladden McConkey.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Palmer. I mean, I've heard of Palmer. I've heard of Quentin Johnston, but I've never. Yeah. That's the one that says Quentin Palmer just got a catch, and that's my bet. That'd be like the only maybe catch or target he sees all game, and then you won't hear that name again.
At this time, you don't have a number one guy out there on the receiving core that can say, "This is a guy who I'm going to throw to 100%." This is my Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is my DeAndre Hopkins. This is my Devontae. They don't have that in Los Angeles. They do not have that.
Yeah, which I think is why I was trying to tell you. When I look at San Diego, or I call them San Diego even still. When I look at the Chargers of LA, and I look at this New York Giants, I just see the same damn team, different jerseys. They really got rid of everything that could have made them good has gone in and out those doors. I guess you could say Bosa's still there.
Yeah, they got Bosa on defense, but I think in terms of offense, man, I know that they got a lot of hype with hiring Harbaugh, right? But I don't think it's going to do a whole lot. I don't think it's going to lead to a lot. So when I look at these guys here, I think you can agree with me. The two that have the most potential are the first two we talked about, Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Those two have the most talent around them that can help propel their games after come back from injuries. I would say, would you put Daniel Jones having more talent around him than Justin Herbert?
At this point, when you look at it on paper, I mean, yeah.
I mean, and is that just because of Singletary coming in the backfield now, and because of Wan'Dale Robinson and whatnot? Because I mean, the Chargers, they lost a lot of pieces, man.
Yeah, they lost a lot of guys. They didn't have Austin Eckler there to blame it on anymore. They got some dude named Gus Edwards.
I'm about to tell you, they got it's gonna be look, man.
Oh man.
So to sum things up, I think Burrow and Watson have the best shots of coming back looking healthy. I might as well I think we can say that Daniel Jones has a better potential to have a better season than than Justin Herbert, which is crazy. I think Herbert has the better talent in his arm, but it's more so the guys in Los Angeles, the receiving core I'm talking about strictly. They got to prove it to me first. No disrespect, but they got to prove it first.
Yeah.
If we want to move up Herbert. And so that's how I see this all going, man. I think it's going to be interesting to see how these guys perform, how they come back. Some guys got new players, new coaches, et cetera. But that's just our thoughts. That's our thoughts on these 4 quarterbacks and how we think they're going to do in 2024. Jay McLovin, appreciate you, my brother, coming on, talking about Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, a little bit about their teams, but more so about how they're going to do this year. We want to hear from you, though, in the comments. How are all these 4 players going to do? Who's going to have the best year? Who's going to have the worst year? We want to hear it in the comments, Facebook, YouTube. Also, go check out our podcast every single week. For my guy, Jay McLovin, I've been your host, producer, Logan Landers. I'll talk to you again.